drugs.
I'm Rose and I'm an addict. Can everyone hear me? Thank you to the committee for asking me to share. I feel quite nervous. I always do when I share, even if I'm sharing in a meeting or, I always get that anxiety in my stomach before I share. I've got a million thoughts going through my head at the minute, but I know all I need is God's will and the power to carry that out. That's all I need. Because I've got this ego that likes to sound good, that likes to look good, and that wants everyone to laugh at me and think I'm great and what an amazing message and all that crap that goes through my head. But at the end of the day, I've got my experience of drug use. I've got my strength and I've got my hope. I know I've got that. So I'll talk a little bit about my drug use because that's why I'm sat here today. I started using drugs at a very young age. For me, the progression was quite rapid. And when I was a kid, I had a relatively half-decent childhood, to be honest with you. There was no major trauma or nothing like that. My mum and dad split up when I was 4, and that's about as bad as it got, really. I had decent parents, and I had a good childhood. I was loved and I was looked after. But there was something within me when I was a kid, fucking defiant. I was defiant from being a child. I always wanted everything my way. Being a little kid, my way was the right way, and that was it. And I was always looking for excitement. I was always looking for something different. Life, just normal life, was quite mundane to me. So, even before I picked up any substances, I was a little lunatic when I was a kid. I was a thief, I was running away from home, and I was just always looking for excitement. But within all that as well, I was full of fear. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I was always comparing myself to others. I struggled in social situations and I just felt relatively internally uncomfortable, and I don't know why I felt like that, but I did. And when I started using drugs, that all changed, especially when I started using heroin. That was like something just lit up inside me when I picked up that drug. And I think I was 18, going on to 19 when I started using Class A drugs. And then it was just like 22 years of absolute carnage, prisons, thieving, just driven by this crazy ass obsession that I didn't even know that I had. This feels dead loud, isn't it? Yeah. It's dead loud, isn't it? Where's Chelsea? Just feels like it's dead loud. I'll move it a little bit. Is that better? Yeah? Can you still hear your own voice echoing? So I was just absolutely driven by this obsession for years. I just couldn't get enough. No matter how much drugs I had in front of me, there was never, ever enough. I was up and down the country grafting. I was getting nicked. I was in and out of police stations. I went to prison, I don't even know how many times, about 12 times. And I was just a motivated, driven, crazy-ass junkie for years. But throughout that period of my using, I loved drugs. I'm not going to lie. I loved using drugs. I loved the effect that drugs gave me. Drugs made me feel confident. They made me feel good about myself. I could engage with people. I'd rob anything. when I was under the influence of drugs. I'd do anything. I was full of energy, and I liked how they made me feel. So throughout all them years when I was trying to stop, because I went in rehab countless times, I'd done loads of detoxes, I even put myself in prison purposely to get clean. Because I didn't really want to be doing what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? I knew that this was ruining my life. And as the years went on, like throughout my using, I'd say things like, right, I'm 20. I'm going to stop when I'm 25. Definitely. I'm going to stop using drugs when I'm 25, and I'm going to have babies, and I'm going to get married, and I'm going to get a dead good job, and my life's going to be boss. So I just carry on using. I think I've got loads of time, I'm only young. Just enjoy it. And then I get to 25, and I'd actually consciously think to myself, fucking hell, I'm 25. Shit, I better stop. Actually, I'll change the goalpost a little bit. We'll go to 28. Still be able to have a kid then. And that's kind of how it went for me. I haven't got no, really traumatic events, to be honest with you. You know, apart from spending most of my life in and out of prison. I just found it incredibly difficult to stop using drugs. Well, not even to stop. I found it incredibly difficult to stay stopped. I really did. And I went in, like I said before, I went to rehab loads of times, I've done detoxes, fucking moved here, and everywhere, all over the country. I moved abroad. I'd done all kinds of things. I had all kinds of plans of how I was going to stop using drugs and stay stopped. And the shit hit the fan every time I stopped. Every time the substances were gone, that was when the shit hit the fan for me. Because when I was using, I was comfortably numb. You know what I mean? I was comfortably numb. I was under the influence. And I just kind of went through this tunnel vision of life, driven by an obsession, and finding ways and means to get more. And then when I'd stop using, I'd be like, fucking hell, shit. All that uncomfortableness that I felt as a kid, and I don't even know where that comes from, but all that uncomfortableness that I felt as a child, not feeling good enough, comparing myself to everyone, fucking, not knowing who the fuck I was, because as the years went on, the less I knew myself. So I'd go in a detox, I'd go in a rehab, I'd do my detox, and then I'd just be like, fucking hell, this is shit. Because I'd have all the best intentions in the world, mate. I'm going to get clean, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, life's going to be fucking amazing, and everything's going to be sound. And then the drugs would be gone, and then I'd be left with me. I'd be left with that uncomfortable fucking woman that I was, and I just didn't know how to be. I just didn't know how to be without drugs in me. So every single time I got clean, I'd always go back, I'd always go back, I'd always go back. And I've done it loads of times over the years. And I remember my mum used to say to me, what the fucking hell is wrong with you? And I'd be like, I don't know. But as the years were going on, I started thinking, there's something not right here. Because I always said, I take fucking drugs because I like them. That is why I take drugs, because I like them, and there was an element of truth in that. When I first came into recovery, I done my last detox when I was 40. I was 40 years of age, and I'd used drugs chronically up until that point. I didn't have a day off. I didn't think, I'm not going to smoke crack today. I'm going to be good. I might have thought that when the night before or something, but please believe me, you know what it's like as an addict. You wake up, the obsession's on you, and you're gone, I have a lot of empathy for myself now for when I first came into recovery, because I really struggled with aging when I first came into recovery, because I'd used drugs for all them years, and I kind of woke up one day and I was 42 years of age. I was like, who was that? What the fuck? Oh my God, I've got wrinkles, shit. Things like that, because I was so internally, and I'm still internally a lot younger than me is, but it was just really, really difficult. And I've heard people saying it before, and it's so true. This is not for the faint-hearted. Because, you know, I had to discover who I was. So, you know, I went to my first NA meeting in HMP style. No one ever. I'd done one before that, at the back of 8 years ago. But the first one that had any kind of relevance in my life was in HMP style. And I was about 38 years of age. And, you know, I heard this woman sharing, you know, about her drug use, about how she thought, about how she felt, about the things she'd done to get drugs, all that fucking guilt and shame that we carry, that you ain't telling anyone. By the way, I'm not telling anyone the way I think or the things I've done to get drugs over the years. That's going to my fucking grave. So when I'm in this meeting and this woman sharing all this stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I think like that. Oh my God, I've done things like that for drugs. Oh my God, I used like she did. And that kind of just resonated a little bit of hope inside me. Just a little bit of hope that maybe there is something out there, because I know, I'm under no illusion, right? I know that if it wasn't for NA, I wouldn't be sat here today. I mean, I'm 54 years of age now. I'll probably be fucking dead. You know, another 14 years of using the way I did, I'd probably be close, or I'd be dead. You know what I mean? My life would be fucking over if I hadn't have got clean. And I always had a bit of hope. I was always in a lot of denial as well. I'll do it next week. These 12 steps have absolutely fucking saved my life and give me a life and the God of my understanding. I cannot give anything else credit for being 11 years clean. I can't. Even though I want to give myself fucking credit, by the way. You're doing all right, you know, aren't you? You know, but it's only this that has changed my life. You know, I had a really, really rocky start in NA. And relapse doesn't have to be part of the journey. It doesn't, but it was for me. Yeah, because I'm arrogant. I think I know fucking best. I've got a massive ego, and I'll do it my way. And that was always how I was. I will do this, but I'll do it my way, because I know best. So when I first came into NA, I had a couple of years, probably a little bit longer, of relapse. And, you know, oh my God, I done my last detox in November 2011, and my clean date is June 2014. So I had a rocky road initially. But for me, right, someone said to me, alcohol's a drug. Fuck off. Alcohol's not a drug. Is it fuck? And that was my outlook on alcohol when I came into NA. Alcohol, I have not got a problem with alcohol. And I truly believe that I did not have a problem with alcohol. And I fucking have. I have got a problem with alcohol, because when I drink alcohol alcoholically. You know what I mean? I don't go to a wine bar and have a glass of Chardonnay, you know, with my colleagues at work and have a little sip like a middle class lady. You know what I mean? I fucking don't. When I drink alcohol, it's down the fucking throat and I'm looking for handbags to rob. That's where alcohol takes me. It is. But I had to experience that. I had to experience it. And I remember me and some guy, I was in a relationship in early recovery, experienced that. We went out, we drank, we're rolling pints in the pub, I'm looking for handbags to steal, we've gone back to County Road and we're using heroin and crack. So from living that experience, I started thinking, well, maybe I have got a problem with alcohol. Because every time I use alcohol, I want to smoke crack. So yeah, I have got a problem with alcohol. So, you know, I think what I'm trying to say is, for me, I had to live these experiences. People told me I was powerless. Telling an egotistical, arrogant woman that she's fucking powerless. Don't you dare. How dare you? I was powerless. I was fucking powerless. I couldn't stop myself from using, even when I wanted to. So I had all these experiences in my early days in NA, and I started asking people questions because I wouldn't ask anyone anything. I'd come into meetings and I'd think I knew it all. I was so fucking terrified inside, and I weren't asking you for help. No way. And it was only when I started doing that, I started saying to people, you've got a few years under your belt, how are you staying clean? And someone would say, because I got the ability to be honest. And I'd think, do you mean stopping grafting? Because I can't do that. And then someone else would ask someone else, and you go, I remember asking a guy, and I said to him, what do I need to do? And this is really profound for me, because these were all life-changing little events that happened. And he said to me, Rose, you need to surrender. And I'm like, what to? What am I surrendering to? And he said something dead simple, but it was just so profound what he said, and he went, surrender to the 12 steps. And I remember thinking, I can do that. I don't know how I'm going to do it like, but I can do that. When I fully surrendered, when I fully admitted to myself, not to anyone else, because I was in meetings for years saying I'm Rose and I'm an addict. It was just rolling off my tongue. It was just like, it didn't mean anything. I didn't believe it. It was just what everyone said, so I'll say it. When I finally admitted to myself that I was an addict and I could not use drugs successfully, even though I wanted to, so bad. That was when my journey into recovery really truly began. And I think this was in 2000, and I don't even know where it was, 2013 maybe, probably 2014. Well, my clean date's 14, isn't it? Yeah, because I relapsed again after that. Resentment, number one offender. I've relapsed on resentment as well, and because I get cut off from my higher power, I get cut off from God. I need to be connected to a power greater than me. I need that in my life, and I don't do it well. You know, but I know that I need a power greater in my life, because that's the only thing that's ever worked for me. When I give up on my ideas and what I thought was the right way to go, when I absolutely surrendered to this program, when I started applying these principles little by little over time, I began to accumulate a little bit of recovery. Yeah, I started getting well-ish, but I started getting well. I was changing. And I started having a little bit of regard for other people, because when I was using drugs, I didn't have regard for anyone. The only person I had regard for was me. And my daughter came along, and as much as I loved my daughter, I couldn't stay clean for her. Anyway, the program works. I'm not going to sit here and reel through the 12 steps, because I'm just not. But it works. This program fucking works. I do my best to live by the principles every day. Some days I do it really well, some days I do it really badly, but I still do it. I get up every morning, I connect with my higher power, the God of my understanding. I've done it continuously throughout my whole recovery, because I know how important that is. Because if I am left to my own devices, I don't even know what's happened to me now. I'll probably end up being an alcoholic, to be honest. I haven't got it in me to go grafting like I used to. We have one promise in here. One promise. By living them thought-suggested things. And that promise is freedom from active addiction. And I've got that. But what comes with that? What comes with freedom from active addiction? You're not going to sit on the couch for the rest of your life, are you? So I'll share a little bit about my joys in recovery. I am a woman who spent most of my life in prison. I've got 124 previous convictions. charges, which is something like 55 previous convictions. A lot of them have gone off my DBS now, but that's what I had. I was unemployable, and now I'm a mental health nurse. So I made a decision 7 years ago that I was going to educate myself. I didn't know where I was going to go with it, but I thought I'm going to fucking educate myself, mate. Because I'm very motivated. I always was when I was using. I was up and I was dressed and where am I going today? What fucking city am I going to ravage today? You know what I mean? And that's what I was like when I was using. And I'm pretty much quite similar in recovery, but I kind of use that energy and that motivation and that fucking drive in a more positive way in my life now. So I went back to university in 2019 to do my mental health nursing degree, and I thought I've got fucking no chance, because at that time I think my last criminal conviction was 5 years prior to that. Anyway, I got in uni, I got in, and I'd done this mental health nursing degree, and I qualified 3 years ago. And then I thought, right, I'm going to do a master's. So I've done a master's in public health addictions, and now I'm doing another master's to become a non-medical prescriber and diagnose people. You know, so I kind of look at, you know, the person that I was and the person that I am now. And I work in a community mental health team in South Sefton. And there's no fucking addicts in there, unless they're undercover, little fucking, you know, bottle of wine every night, or a few pills. There's no fucking smackheads working there, let me tell you. You know, so when I've kind of like, because when I was doing all my training and all that, I worked in rehabs and everyone was in recovery and it was just dead open and all that kind of stuff, and then I've kind of stepped into this middle class professional role. And I'm working in this community mental health team with, you know, all kinds of crazy ass fucking professional people. And when I first started working there, I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing here? I was absolutely, and this was only a year ago when I got this role, but I was like, oh my God, do these people know who I am? I wanted to tell them all. I used to be a smackhead, you know. I smoked crack for 20 years, you want me to tell you about it? So I've had to kind of learn. I've had to learn to keep my fucking mouth shut. That's what I've had to do. And no one knows in my service that I was a heroin addict for 22 years. But now and again, I'll say something like, I used to have a problem with drugs and alcohol. You know, and then think, oh my God, why have you just said that? It was really difficult for me at first to kind of, to believe in myself. I mean, even now, all of the amazing stuff I've done in recovery, I'm like, Chelsea, how long have I got left? Am I nearly done?
I didn't get this information.
Anyway. Do you know what, right? You know, I think
20 minutes left, Rob.
We can do anything in here, you know. Honestly, we are like, we're fucking a special breed, aren't we, us lads? Do you know what I mean? You know, to be able to manage an addiction like that for all them years, you know, and come out the other side of it, there's something fucking, you know, we all know, you know, how many people have we lost in here? You know, I've got to mention Lee Garrett, I loved him, you know what I mean, he was a great guy. We've lost so many people in this fellowship, we really have. I work with people every day, I'm a dual diagnosis practitioner now, and I still work in addictions and mental health. And some people are like late 50s and they're not even remotely, they're just in complete denial, and it's so sad, you know, and we are so fortunate and so blessed to be here, sitting in your seat today. I know I'm in with a shot, you know what I mean, but I know I've got to do certain things to stay clean, and I made peace with that years ago. And I'll finish on this, and you know, we know what they are, don't they? Come to meetings, do a bit of service, get a fucking sponsor and go through the work, and that's it. And it doesn't take up a great deal of my day. Do you know what I mean? You know, an hour of a morning to connect with my higher power. You know, I ring me sponsor once a week, I do a couple of meetings, I do a little bit of service, and I fucking get on with my life. Yeah, and I've got a life that's worth living today, and I'll shut up now, thanks.